special Stocktoberfest edition of Panic with me, Jeff Macke, and Howard Lindzon, the capo di tutto, the major domo of Stocktoberfest himself, right here to discuss our takeaways. So what we learned, it's by all accounts the most successful Stocktoberfest ever, and I assume a lot of that was because it was my first. But part of that was probably due to some work that you've done too.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your overall takeaway, and then we'll get into the specifics. It was a fantastic room, fantastic gathering.
It was ambitious to try and double it and keep it intimate. That's what people want. They want everything. So they want the island. They want a better facility. They want better food. They want more speakers. And I think we delivered. That was. And I learned a ton. So the good news about any event is I learned a shit pile for next year.
Which is the fun part. So what did we learn? First thing, Facebook is underestimated. That seems almost impossible.
I know. What is amazing is no one mentioned it on My Man on the Street, which we filmed with Lindsay in LA. And then at the event, no one mentioned it as a potential trillion-dollar company until Ben Thompson, who's not a stock guy, but someone I read at Stratechery and begged to get in from Taipei, said, you know, Silicon Valley, the place where is kind of the anti-Facebook in terms of their own behavior, doesn't really understand Facebook. Wall Street understands Facebook better than Silicon Valley. And the world understands and uses Facebook different than everybody else in the United States.
The stunning thing about this is that Zuckerberg, Hoodie Boy, turned out to be the only non-autistic in the entire valley. He's actually relating to other human beings, and that's how they're winning.
In a way that he probably hired the best team and then did the right acquisitions.
Good
and
enough.
kept them
He can
alone
fake human
separately
emotion.
and the constellation. But to hear Ben talk about it, I'm not going to do injustice to Ben, but basically I'll wrap up what Ben's saying because he covered so many great companies that Facebook is underestimated.
Which, it's my biggest holding, so that makes Ben sound really smart. Any system better than no system.
Love this. Read it, understand it. When Jerry Parker is one of the original Turtles.
The band?
The Turtle Trader has managed as much as $2 billion, now really just small, managing family money in managed futures, trend following a mutual fund, really dove in that even though the S&P, for example, where we tell people to dollar average into the S&P or a Vanguard ETF of the S&P 500, any system is better than no system. So as much
Meaning
as
just imposing some sort of systemic process on your trading is better than
including just investing in the S&P, which is a rudimentary system because it replaces stocks and adds stocks in and just does it for you. Even though that's rudimentary, 99% of people can't beat it and professionals can't beat it, which isn't to mean you can't beat the system. It just means you have to have a system to beat another system. And the fact is, what was really interesting about Jerry too, and I don't think people really understood it, was that this is the era of investors, meaning computers, coders, people like thinking. You don't have to be on Wall Street. This is the perfect era for investing.
Because imagination, technology's caught up, and the stock guys have the imagination.
Can do it. And what's super interesting about that is we keep selling something else to this generation. We're lying to them because everybody else sucked at it and had no systems, and now we have the tools to just systematically do what the Turtles did in 1980s because Richard Dennis was the only one who would spend money on computers, is we keep telling people they can't do it. So I'm super bullish by that. Jerry Parker, even though he was only up for a short period of time, blew my mind with simple stuff.
And so keep it simple. Everyone thinks they're Luke at the end of Star Wars, where he's going to flip up the visor and he's going to use the Force. You're not Luke. The Force was strong with
You're not Luke.
You're going to panic and you're going to miss the hole.
But everybody should have a little Luke in them in the sense that trading is not bad. Investing on your own outside of a system is not bad. People are going to do it. The StockTwits traffic proves that people do. Motley Fool, Street.com, Jim Cramer on CNBC. The numbers may not be Twitter-like or Facebook-like in terms of people who want to do it themselves. Just because a system matters doesn't mean you shouldn't also be imaginative and try and beat the S&P with a small portion of your portfolio.
Before instinct. It's you react well only after you actually have some foundation, as opposed to I am nature boy kicking off my shoes and going to make magic trades.
The system protects you from being a human, but being human allows you to be who you are, meaning trying to get Amazon over Walmart is a fucking great thing.
Yeah.
It's a freedom of this country. So everything that he says is true, but I would also add having your own individuality and sometimes a little piece of no system and imagination will help you trounce the market.
Just a tiny bit. And hard to put 5 great chart artists on. It's okay.
Yeah, I think the feedback was as great as all those 5 people are individually. Putting them on stage together, I think I screwed up in the production, meaning I lost their artistry in the fact that I clumped them all together. Right. So I would say that was my one mistake that I made, was that I tried to squeeze so many smart people onto one panel, and that one to me didn't work. I mean, I didn't get what I wanted out of it, and so I'm going to rethink that for next year. So sometimes just having the smartest people is not what you get. Like, and the same thing is like long-term capital management. That's what you put the smartest people in a room. It's worked for Google. It's working for Facebook. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and you go from there. So I apologize personally. For me, even though other people didn't notice it, I just wish I had separated some of the people.
Divvy them out. And they needed more charts with Oprah on them. California is still a buy, really. Chicago, not so much, though.
So Bill Gurton, who manages $10 billion in fixed income, lives in La Jolla, has been bullish on California for the last 4 years. I don't know how many people have trotted on California, including whatever her name is.
Mary Whitney, yep.
She came on and blurted that California was dead. Bill was in swooping up bonds. Every year he's come to our show and said, every year California's GDP, what are you worried about? Whatever the debt is,
people
when
are worried
the
about a
GDP's
crash.
so big. You know, and it's the same thing with the bearish case. What he did always, and he continues to say for the last 4 years, why the hell would anybody give Chicago money? Because Chicago's a corrupt, bankrupt state, but California, no. So
and California's corrupt in a way that will benefit the municipalities. California has no appetite for the wet work of actually wringing these things out, and so they'll bail them out. It's 90% of the budget.
But they were not even close to that,
anyway.
He said, based on revenues. And then secondly, what Bill said, and it goes to what you're saying about the brains get into bonds, the creative people get into stocks, right? And the brains get into doing what Jerry Parker said when they get into stocks is systems. The creative people are drawn to stocks because you're dealing in paper and everything's made up. I assume everything's made up from so all the numbers of fundamentals are made up too because they're the garbage in, garbage out. So the other thing that Bill said, and it's really important about Fed rate hikes, is we will know when a rate hike is coming because they generally get anticipated in the futures. And the reason they're not raising rates is they're watching the futures rate and making sure when they do raise rates, it's already priced in. Yeah. So he said...
And that's a super smart macro guy effectively saying, stop thinking so goddamn much. A lot of this Fed talk is just a function of filling 24/7 on financial TV. Yeah. The Fed will telegraph. That's all they've said over and over.
Fed will telegraph.
We're
There's one chart on Bloomberg.
And we're going to tell you.
And I'll tell you. So stop worrying about it. But I haven't talked once in the last 3 years about a rate hike. Personally, have not. I look back through my messages. Don't talk about it other than making fun of it because there's one chart to look at. Is what the futures, the smart people are pricing it in. The Fed's looking at that.
And the idea that we're going to sift through the goat entrail parsing the freaking Fed statement to see what adjectives they use to come up with some sort of investing strategy might be the dumbest goddamn thing we do. And we do a lot of really stupid things.
It's just a time suck. Okay, next.
Data, information, it's the new oil.
So, I always say, just like too small to fail, which I'm really proud that back in 2008, Seth Godin quoted me. You can get retweeted and quoted by a lot of people, but when Seth does it, that means something because he's a marketing genius. And so, this whole big data thing, I don't like it. Ben Thompson also mentioned something about it. I live in a world of small data. So NASDAQ came and presented, and they said this, data information is a new oil. Love the slide, love that thought, because people are raising billions of dollars on this big data thing. I look at it, to me, it's small data and trust. So when I look at a price, Chipotle's right now is down $50 or $60. That is it. That's big data. To get Chipotle's, to show me a trusted price on StockTwits is a culmination of billions of data points. But the fact is, to me, it's small data because I'm looking at Chipotle's, I'm looking at the price.
There's a little scoreboard and there's not room to write down.
That's small data,
why,
but to make it is big data. So we talk all this stuff, but really, this information is the new oil. There's a lot of hucksters in it. It's super important. And it is the new oil, but there's just a lot of misdirection in it. It's really messy and it powers so much stuff, but you can really get bogged down and we got to have all this data to make decisions. No, you don't. Price is pretty much all you need to start making decisions. And as long as you trust that price, and that's why I thought NASDAQ did a good job. Okay.
Excellent, and write it down.
Finally, at the sink, it's quite obvious you have to write stuff down. Anybody who I meet who is experiencing success investing, everyone, they may not look like a success, but anyone who starts growing is writing stuff down. You blog, you tweet, you Tumblr, who cares if you share it? The point is writing it down. What Dr. Brett said, which was super interesting to me, and I don't have a slide for it, but we're ending with this, is that focus on your winning trades. We all, listen, writing stuff down, for sure, write your trades down. I always talk about my losers on Stocktwids because it bugs me. But if you really want to get better as a trader, focus on the stuff you did right on the good trades.
Right.
So it's great to share and get it off your chest, but don't obsess over the losers. Focus on the winning trades. And that was a really interesting takeaway. Dr. Brett's the greatest. He did a great job presenting. And in a nutshell, I think that's enough, but that sums up Stocktoberfest.
Right, it gives you a baseline, too. I keep journals. I've got 100, actually, reasonably, probably like 40 or 50 of them. It'd like take me about 2 months to go through just drawing everything, and it gives you a baseline. So you can go back and you don't realize in real time when you're a little nuts, when you're a little down, and how that's influencing you. If you write it down, you have that back there, and it keeps you from conflating events in your past and screwing
yeah, you
with
don't
yourself
have to look
mentally.
back at it, but the act of doing it, just
the act of doing it, yeah, kind of obviates the need to look back, but it's still there in hard form. It's written down. It's a discipline.
So
basically.
Hopefully that catches everybody up, but it was a great event.
Fantastic event.
There was a lot more to discuss, but I wanted to keep it short, and hopefully this helps.
We laughed a little, we cried a little, we learned something, we shared a hug, we shared a smile. It was Stocktoberfest 2015. We'll see you next year.